Hi, old guy in shed again. Sorry I've been a bit late with this next instalment of my place in the shed, but things have just got on top of me lately, which is pretty normal for everybody's life. I'm still sporting my lockdown haircut, which I'm really enjoying, I have to say, on two counts. Firstly, I can now spend money in here instead of on my head. And secondly, it winds the missus up. Brilliant. There's nothing she can do. She hates it. So it kind of gives me a perverse, sort of humorous moment in my life. It's so sad. I'm glad I've got my shed. If you have a shed, I'm sure you feel the same. That this particular time in history, there is nothing more important than your shed. They're great. Right, I have a real treat today. Real treat. I'm so pleased. Not for you. The treat isn't yours. The treat is mine. A friend of mine has this bike in his shed, and I'm going to give it a little clean for him, and I'm going to sort of go through it with you guys a bit because it's so interesting. It's a very interesting little bike. It's of an era where the Brits just didn't get into this type of motorbike. They just didn't. Very small capacity, very, very stylish for its time. And we just never went there. We just didn't do it. It was very much a thing for the continent, particularly Italy, and to quite a large degree Spain. But the Italians were the real exponent of small capacity, nice bikes. And this is one of them. I'll go through it with you in a minute. It is the Moto Guzzi Cardellino. Cardellino means goldfinch, I believe. Why you would call a motorbike a goldfinch is completely beyond me. But there you go. Who knows? Calling some of the names of bikes has always been something of a mystery. I understand Bonneville. They named it after the bike that went to Bonneville. Really understand it. Never really understood the Rocket Gold Star, because it's either a rocket or it's a gold star. Rocket Gold Star really didn't make a great lot of sense to me as a name. The BSA Barracuda seemed to be that they were trying to appeal to a market that didn't exist in this country. It certainly existed in America. They liked the idea of those sort of names. But I don't know, it just seems odd to call a motorbike a goldfinch. Could you imagine, well, is it that odd? I suppose we had the Bantam, and the BSA Bantam was small and pretty bloody useless. Although I have got nothing but fond memories of the Bantam. The Bantams taught me so much, and they were a bike of the people, for the people. They were really cheap, they were really easy to use. Yeah, I suppose that's fair. The Bantam was pretty good in its day. But having said all of that, let's forget the Bantam for a moment. We may have one in the shed at some time, which would be really good, because like I say, they were very much an icon of British motorbikes, and certainly a success story of British motorbikes. But these were very successful in Italy, and I'd say they never got here. We never embraced it as a genre of motorbike. And I find that quite interesting. Maybe it was something to do with the fact that they could ride bikes a lot younger, but they could only ride a certain capacity. I don't know. There's somebody out there, I'm sure, will tell me and put me to rights. But I'm not really interested in that as such. It's interesting to know, but what I am interested in is what this bike offered. And we'll go into that right now. Okay? That sounds like a plan to me. Okay, here we have the Cardellino. Do you agree? Resplendent in its bright red, or a rosso. It is very much ahead of its time in comparison to what we were making in this country. With the pressed steel portions, with the tubular down, up to the headstock. The front suspension is here, between the two yokes, and these whole things slide, and this top yoke actually slides right there, but I'm going to do a demonstrate it for you, you may be able to see that. And these are literally your sliders with grease nipples here, both sides, to keep it all running smooth. Very clever idea, really quite well ahead of its time. It was just a way of dealing with a very lightweight bike. The rear suspension, fascinating. Swing arm, here's your suspension. And this, the only other company I can think of, I may be wrong again, usually am, Brough Superior had a similar setup to this, which was very interesting. We had the twin shocks here, as ever. The beauty of this is it's easily adjustable here. You can adjust your suspension slightly, preload, etc. Really neatly done. And it gave a rising rate to the swing arm, which is a really good thing to have. Some of them didn't have this damper, which is a friction damper, one each side. Depends on which year model you got. But again, a simple, easy way to deal with a particular problem in engineering. Had the saddle seat. Some of them did have like a dual seat. It's quite interesting, but its general style and appeal is just beautiful. This is the 73cc model. The first ones were 68, but it was sort of cafe racer-ish for such a small capacity. For what we would call a cooking machine, you know, something to get you to work. These seem to be appealing to a much younger, sort of more trendy sort of guy. You can imagine the chap with the chinos and the Ray-Bans going into the town square on this thing. It really does sort of evokes that sort of image of Italy. And I just think it's a beautiful thing. It's got lots of little features like the toolbox, etc. Centre stand, as I say, a little two-stroke engine, and just beautifully crafted, beautifully put together. I'm going to bring it down so you can see the shape of the fuel tank and the view from the rider, for the rider, of the front of the bike, because it really is a very, very beautiful sculpted shape. The Italians seem to do very well. I know I bang on about Italian style a lot, and I do apologise to a point, but the reason for that is I actually believe they do have that little something that, well, we sort of lacked really. Our designers tended to either be very staid and very British, which is okay, it's fine, no problem with it. Or they tried to emulate Americans, and we saw that with the peanut tank on the Bonneville and the Triumph Hurricane with those crazy exhausts that they fitted, and tried to appeal to a market that they were losing. Undoubtedly they were losing, which is sad. But the Italians really just stuck to their guns and produced machines that they believed were the absolute business. What is also fascinating is just how light this is. I've got this up on my bench. For those of you who have a shed with the bikes, invest in one of these things. They just save your back. I mean, my back has thanked me every single day I work on a motorbike since I've owned this thing, and it is fabulous. But what's interesting is I put on my heavier, really heavy motorbikes on here, things like the 1100 Guzzi and 1200 Guzzi, and I've set it up for the so it lowers with that weight on it. With this on it, I try to lower it, and it's awfully slap. It just doesn't weigh anything. It's almost like there's nothing on the bed at all. But that's okay. That's okay. So I'll bring it down to the floor, as I say. I'll show you some of the other little features of the bike. Again, all I'm going to really bang on about is its style, because I believe that's what it is all about. Interestingly, though, I will, before I go any further, this is me getting confused. It isn't a rev and go. It has a clutch. It has a 3-speed gearbox. You have to ride it like a motorbike. It doesn't have pedals. It is not a moped. It is a small capacity, lightweight motorbike. And given that at this era, you have to remember that there was a huge following for 50cc racing. We had companies like Derby, Creedler, Garelli, all these companies who were producing these absolutely fantastically fast little bikes. They were ridiculous things for the speed they got out of these little 50cc engines. So, like I say, it never really made it here in this country, but for sure it made it in the on the continent. And they sort of embraced the small capacity bikes more than we did. I have no idea why, we just didn't. But this, as I say, I'll bring it down now and we can have another look, okay? And I think, like I say, you may or may not agree with me on its design style, but you can't argue that it has a style. Thank you. Okay, this is the view from the rear of the bike. Things I'd like to point out is this beautiful fluting in the tank, where it just all flows in. These beautiful little bars. It's almost cafe racer style. It's a tiny little bike that gives you all of these sort of features that you'd normally find on big bikes. The sort of style of the fuel cap. It's just, you know, absolute little, beautiful little touches where that's nicely curved, clicks into the centre of the cap, beautiful. The only thing I would say is I would have liked to have seen a clock on it to know something. I mean, this thing would burn up the roads at 40 miles an hour on a good day. No more really. It's all they were good for. But they were built for around town. They were built to get a guy looking cool and looking good. I say, with the dual seat, perhaps that would be a preference, but it has the end caps. Moto Guzzi blazoned into the grips. You knew everything about this bike. You know it came from this factory, and that's really good. Other things about it, as I say, it has its own Kickstarter. It has a proper clutch, proper gearbox. The motorbike really is a motorbike. It is not a toy. It's not a moped. It is a small capacity motorcycle that will give you all the pleasure of any motorcycle. I've not ridden this particular model. I hope to have the opportunity at some point. But from what people have told me who have ridden them, they handle particularly well. And yeah, look forward to having a go on such a beautiful little motorcycle. Well, that's it from the shed, folks. Hope you found the little Cardellino interesting. I certainly do. I think it's a splendid little thing. I really do like the idea of it, like the style of it. And again, I'll bring something back for your interest in the very near future. There will be another broadcast, possibly tomorrow or the day after, on a completely different subject, I hope. And we'll see how we get on. So that's all for today. Thanks again, folks. And don't forget to press the like or the subscribe button. Every little bit helps just to keep this going and to let other people know that there are bikers out there who still like their motorbikes. Thank you.